G'day gymnastic skill seekers. Today I want to talk to you about my best 3 lat stretches. So a lot of gymnastic skill seekers I work with have tight lats. Now often their tight lats are caused by overuse in the gym, especially in movements like chin-ups and pull-ups, poor form in movements like chin-ups and pull-ups and even rows, and poor posture throughout the day. Now, it's not uncommon to see calisthenics or bodyweight athletes who have super strong but super tight lats. They spend a lot of time strengthening their lats, but they don't spend a lot of time stretching their lats. Now, tight lats can lead to poor posture, shoulder pain, back pain, and of course, limited shoulder flexibility, especially in shoulder flexion or overhead movements. Now, the lats are the biggest muscle in our back, and they're used to adduct the shoulders. So we think about pulling the arm closer to the body in movements like pull-ups and chin-ups, where the upper arm is moving in towards the body. Extending the shoulders. So we think about movements like rows, where we're pulling the upper arm behind the body. Internal rotation of the shoulders. Now, there's not really a specific movement that we want to target here, but we want to think about if we have tight internal rotators, that limits the ability or limits the strength of the external rotators. And in calisthenics or in bodyweight movements, we need to have strong external rotators to create strong and stable shoulders for all of our pushing and pulling movements. The lats are also used to depress the shoulders. So when the arms are overhead, the lats depress the shoulders, which pull the trunk up and forwards. So in our movements like chin-ups and pull-ups, even things on the rings like muscle-ups, even in our rows, we want to think about depressing the shoulders, using the lats to pull the shoulders back and down to initiate those pulling movements. The lats also play a role in spinal extension and lateral flexion of the spine. So if you've got tight lats, you're leaving performance on the table, you're increasing the chances of injury, specifically shoulder injury, and you're limiting your ability to train movements like handstands. So how do you know if you've got tight lats? Well, we can use a simple shoulder flexibility test to determine if the lats are tight. I've talked about this before in the handstand shoulder mobility test video, but let's quickly run over it again. Start by standing with your back to the wall. Move your feet 1 foot width away from the wall. Bend your knees and place your back against the wall. Set a posterior pelvic tilt, PPT, by tucking your tailbone between your legs and pressing your lower back into the wall. There should be no daylight between your back and the wall at any time during this test. Do not allow your back to arch off the wall as you lift your arms overhead. Keeping the arms straight, lift them out in front of your body with the palms facing the floor. Starting with a shoulder width hand placement, can you lift your arms overhead and place them flat against the wall? Do not allow the elbows to bend or the lower back to arch off the wall. If you're unable to reach the wall, this is a sign that the lats are tight. If you've got tight lats, no amount of strength training is going to fix this. In fact, doing more chin-ups and more pull-ups could actually make it worse. If you want to improve your shoulder mobility, decrease the chances of shoulder pain or shoulder injury, then you're going to want to spend time focusing on stretching the lats. But before I share my 3 best lat stretches, I'm going to give you a few rules to focus on. Now, rule number 1, we can stretch the lats with the spine extended, but it's not as effective as a flex spine. Often when we see people stretching the lats, they move into an extended spine position because it allows them to feel a deeper sensation in the lats. But with the right technique, you can flex the spine and get a much deeper stretch or a much deeper sensation of a lat stretch. So during these stretches, I want you to explore both spinal extension and spinal flexion, but really try to focus on using the cues in spinal flexion to deepen the lat stretch. Rule number 2, when we contract the lats, we internally rotate the shoulders. So stop and think about that for a minute. When we contract or shorten the lats, the shoulder internally rotates. So it makes sense that if we want to lengthen the lats, we want to move into a shoulder externally rotated position. Now, the easiest way to think about this is just to think about supinating the palm. If we turn the palm up, this can help us move into more external rotation. Now, we often see people stretching their lats with their hands in a pronated, palms facing down position. This can cause an uncomfortable sensation or even pain in the shoulders. And just by changing the position of the hand and externally rotating the shoulder, we can get a much deeper stretch and we can find a much more comfortable position to stretch the lats in. Rule number 3 is play. Don't be afraid to break the rules. Move the spine into extension, move the spine into flexion, internally rotate the shoulders, externally rotate the shoulders. This is an opportunity for you to learn what works best for your body, okay? I'm going to give you some details of some stretches and give you some cues to follow, but you're welcome to experiment in these positions and really find the sensation or the stretch that works best for you. So with all that said and the rules out of the way, let's take a look at my 3 best lat stretches. Number 3 is the butcher's block stretch. When I was first learning to handstand, I found this stretch very helpful. It targets the tricep and lat insertion, so it helps to stretch both of these muscles. And it helps us to work on opening the shoulder angle, which is what we need for handstands. So it's really effective in that position. The other thing is we really work on spinal flexion here. We're trying to set a posterior pelvic tilt, tucking our tailbone between our legs, and we're pulling the rib cage down so we can flatten the back. This is very similar to the shape that we need in a straight handstand, so it's got this carryover. We need to be careful of how we place the elbows on the bench. We want the elbows to be slightly inside the hands, so this creates the external rotation in the shoulders. We shuffle the feet back so the knees are stacked underneath the hips. We try to push the chest and head down towards the floor, and we focus on opening that shoulder angle while maintaining a flat back. It can be quite a deep stretch, and it's one that I think sort of hanging out in that position, contracting the biceps so that we lengthen the triceps and just trying to breathe and sink deeper into this. It can sometimes be uncomfortable on the shoulder. If you've got limited shoulder external rotation, you might feel a little bit of pain in the shoulder, but you can experiment with the width of the grip and the width of the elbows, and this can sometimes alleviate that pain. If you're looking for the full exercise demo, you can check out the Butcher's Block on the Sustainable Training Method YouTube channel. Stretch number 2 is a flat bench pullover with straight arms and thoracic extension. I choose this one because it breaks the rules. Not only are we taking the spine into extension, but we're also going to internally rotate the shoulders in this one. So let me explain. We start in a hip bridge position. We contract the glutes and set a strong PPT to create this nice sort of straight line from shoulder to knee. We press a light weight up above the chest. We want to keep the weight light because when we take the arms overhead, this creates a very long lever length, and it also puts the shoulders in a very vulnerable position. So keep the weight pretty light. From here, keeping the hips up, we lower the arms overhead, elevating the shoulders, so pushing the weight away from us. And here we create shoulder internal rotation. As I said before, this can be a vulnerable position for the shoulders. If you externally rotate the shoulders here, you might feel some shoulder pain. So we're contracting the rotator cuffs internally just to give us some tension and some support here. And it allows us to isolate more of the lat in this stretch. Once the arms are down as far as they can go, then we drop the hips, okay? So this allows us to take the spine into extension, and it helps to lengthen the lats and get a nice deep stretch in this pullover position. We hold this bottom position before lifting the hips and then lifting the weight again, and we can move in and out of this, or we can hold for an isometric contraction. Now, this stretch is very good for helping us improve movements like our gymnastics bridge and opening up the shoulder angle in the gymnastics bridge. If you'd like to see the full exercise demo, you can check it out on the Sustainable Training Method YouTube channel. Number 1, or the lat stretch that I enjoy the most, is this lateral lunge lat stretch on the gymnastics rings. Now, this can be performed in a standing or a kneeling position. The setup is pretty much the same except for the height of the ring. You want to set the gymnastics ring to a height that allows you to keep the outer edge of the hip off the ground. I find the lower setup works best for me, but you should give it a try and find out what works best for you. When stretching the right side, we'll grip the ring with the right hand and perform a lateral lunge by stepping the right leg behind the left leg. We want to try to keep the right leg straight as we're trying to lengthen the outer edge of the body to get a really deep stretch throughout the lat. So as we take this lunge, we straighten the arm and we just hang in a relaxed position from the ring, allowing the shoulder to elevate. In this one, flexing the spine is going to help us increase the intensity of the lat stretch. You also want to externally rotate the shoulder, which will result in more of a neutral grip on the gymnastics ring. I find this stretch is great for improving overhead flexibility for handstands, overhead press, and even the gymnastics bridge. And maybe that's why it's one of my favorites. I really get a good sensation or a nice deep stretch in the lat when performing this exercise. If you'd like to watch the full exercise demo, you can check it out on the Sustainable Training Method YouTube channel. I hope you found this video helpful. I guarantee if you spend time stretching your lats, you will see an improvement, especially in your overhead position. So give some of these a try. Commit to stretching your lats for 6 to 12 weeks and possibly every training session that you do. Can be at the start, can be at the end. Just fit it in between exercises if you need to. Consistency and frequency is key here. If you want to start to see improvements in your flexibility, it's just like strength. You've got to train it with consistency and frequency. Give it a try and see how you go. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Also, if you have any suggestions on what you'd like me to make content about, please feel free to leave a comment below and I'll definitely do my best to assist you with whatever it is. Handstands, planche, rings training, flexibility stuff, hit me up. Let me know how I can help you. In the meantime, happy lat stretching.